Okay, first one. I would probably rewrite it as the half power, right? F prime of z equals 1 half z, shoot, that's a z. Z minus 1 over z plus 1 to the negative 1 half times, now the quotient rule. So I took the derivative of the outside, now I have to take the derivative of the inside, and the derivative of the inside is the quotient rule, which is low d high minus high d low over low squared. The inside will simplify. So I have a z minus z, that's gone. 1 plus 1 is 2. Who remembers what this does to a fraction? The negative. Flips it. So it's going to be a z plus 1 on top, a z minus 1, each one to the half power. And this 1 half is literally going to cancel with that one. And then I'm going to highlight this. How many of these do I actually have when it's all said and done? Do we add the powers? Do we subtract them? If I asked you the same question with x's, x to the 1 half over x squared, what's the final answer? It's 1 half minus 2, right? So 1 half minus 4 over 2 is negative 3 over 2, which is 3 over 2 in the denominator. So a lot of algebra after the calculus step. Okay, did I answer your question on that? Yeah, okay. What's the next question? Yeah, 49. Mm-hmm. $51 was a homework problem? Yeah, okay. I cut it off, but oh well. Find all the points where the function is horizontal, right? The tangent line is horizontal. So the derivative is 2 cosine x plus, we said this yesterday, this guy should really be written this way, right? So the 2 is going to come down. Sine x, and the derivative of sine x is cosine x. I can factor out a 2 cosine x from everything. Set each one equal to 0. And the reason we're setting equal to 0, we said horizontal, tangent, look like this. Right? See how it touches at one point and it's horizontal. We even said yesterday in class the slope has to be 0. It's for that reason I'm setting it equal to 0. 2 cosine of x equals 0. Sine of x equals negative 1. You could use your unit circle here. Cosine is equal to 0 at pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, 5 pi over 2, 7 pi over 2. So last year you would add a pi n. Those are all the answers in the world for this guy. Sine is equal to negative 1 at 3 pi over 2 plus 2 pi n. And these are all the answers in the world for this problem. Do you guys remember when to add 2 pi n, all that stuff? Okay. Next question. That's going to be a common theme. This question you're going to see over and over again, and you'll see it on your test a few times as well. Yes? On an open interval. So if I look back at the original question, if they ever give you a closed interval, oh, just investigate from 0 to 2 pi. Do you remember this? Right? It does not get a pi in. If it's missing that, you have to either add a pi in or 2 pi in. Okay. So this one I said out loud. I'll graph it for you. The first answer is here at pi over 2. The next answer is here at 3 pi over 2. The next one's at 5 pi over 2. The next one's at 7 pi over 2. So I can alternate by answers by adding half a revolution. And that's what this is saying. That's half a revolution. Like 180, right? Okay. The next one, sine is only negative here at the green one, 3 pi over 2. So the only way of getting back there is to add a full revolution, and that's what this guy is saying. We'll definitely review this again. On the test, I would definitely give it to you on a closed interval because I don't like these answers. They're very cluttered, you know? So it would definitely be on a closed interval, which is one unit circle, so you'll be fine. Okay, what else? 35. You guys have to understand, trigonometry is fluid. It can change, right? So like, here's what I mean. X squared plus 5x plus 7. This is a polynomial. This guy is never going to change, ever. He's always going to be x squared plus 5x plus 7. Versus this one, can change, right? We know he's really 7. So if something's trig, it can take on many forms. Would you agree or no? Should I explain why it's 7? Because some people look lost. Okay. Do you guys remember the main one? Sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. Right? Sine squared plus cosine squared is always 1. So if I factor out the 7, what's left on the inside? Sine squared plus cosine squared, right? So what would you rather work with? Would you rather work with this monster or 7? 7. So when you have trig, the first thing you should ask yourself is, can it take on a different form, right? So since this was a shock to you guys look shocked. Do you guys know the other two or no? Let's quickly do this activity. This is going to be a very valuable activity. You can add this to your homework or whatever. If you were to take Algebra 2 trig in France or in Italy, any European country, this is all they get. They don't get the other ones, right? You guys got 2 more if you guys remember that, right? So here's how they do it. We're going to do this in our head, okay? We're going to divide everything by sine squared. We'll do it together. What is sine squared divided by sine squared? 1. What is cosine squared divided by sine squared? I haven't heard it yet. No? Huh? Tangent squared? No. Cotangent squared x. I just did it to piss him off. Oh. Okay. What is 1 divided by sine squared? Oh. Because you don't know. He doesn't know. Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay, so this is number 2. This is the one last year's teacher would have given you, right? We're going to go back up to the original, and what do you think we're going to divide by this time? Yep. We're going to divide everything by cosine squared. Sine squared divided by cosine squared, that's your tangent squared. Cosine squared divided by cosine squared is 1. 1 divided by cosine squared is secant squared. So truly, if you know the first one, you know all 3 of them, okay? Get so far? Here's why I bring it up. Our problem does have tangents and secants. So I'll go back to this slide. I have tangents and secants, but it doesn't match. So I really cannot simplify this one. But what I'm trying to teach you guys is if a trig problem is given to you and it's squared, it can take on many forms, and you want to investigate really quickly. Because if it can take on an easier form, just go that route. Okay, I forgot whose problem this was, but here we go. Y prime equals 2 secant x times, so the 2 came down. And who knows the derivative of secant? Secant tangent. So that would be in blue for the chain rule. Secant x tangent x is the chain rule. I'll copy down the plus sign. The 2 is going to come down for the tangent to the first power, and now the chain rule kicks in. The derivative tangent is secant squared x. Are these like terms? So y prime equals, these are like terms, they're identical. I have a 2, I have a tangent, and I have a secant squared. So my final answer is 4 secant squared x tangent x. Do you guys see how they're like terms or no? If you don't see it, what's secant times secant? Secant squared, which is over here. They both have a tangent, so the answer is 4 secant squared tangent. Okay, next question. Are you asking about the blue stuff?
Why do you like distribute secants to blue secants?
Yeah, it's all multiplication, so we can't distribute. Next question. 54. So I'm going to start right here. They're asking for the derivative of w, 0, but I first have to find the derivative of w of x. And w is this, so maybe I have to explain this. W, u composite v, is really this. When you guys did composition of functions last year, the book does write it this way and this way. So, what's the derivative of u? U prime. Times the chain rule, what's the derivative of v? V prime. Now that I have the derivative, I can plug in my 0. And I just have to pull it from the right location. So v of 0 is 2. That's going to slide right in here. V prime of 0 is 5. And lastly, u prime of 2 is 4. 20. Now, if you didn't know those were equal, it's not a big deal. No one uses this notation on the AP test, okay? Okay, let's do one more. How about Zoe, anything? Were you able to do the homework? Yeah, okay. One more question. And then, did you guys see the answers online or no? Yeah, okay. 57. Okay, so A, B, or C? Which one was harder? They're all the same? Okay. I I think I know where your question is. How do I extract? So we practiced this the other day. F. Let's try one here. This is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What is f of 6? So this one is f. It's 3, right? What is f prime of 6? How about, let me go with Esther. What do you think f prime of 6 is? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Perfect. Down 1, she said over 4, so the slope is negative 1/4. So that's how we pull information from the graph, right? Now let's actually do the problem. So she doesn't have a preference. Does anybody have a preference, A, B, or C? B? Okay. V prime of x would be G prime f of x times f prime of x. In other words, the chain rule, right? Then V prime of 1 is going to be G prime f of 1 times f prime of 1. Okay, so at 1, f of 1 is 2, so this guy is going to become a 2. F prime of 1 is the slope. And you can see it's over 1 up to 2. And lastly, this purple box, G prime of 2. We talked about it yesterday. What's the derivative at a corner? I don't know what word you're thinking of, but that's okay. Huh? Undefinable? Was it? No. Yeah, it's not differentiable. And again, the explanation for that is we know the derivative means the slope here. What's the slope here? Is the slope this line or is it this line? It can't be both, right? So at a corner, derivatives do not exist. So this guy generates a does not exist times 2, which doesn't make any sense. So the final answer is does not exist. This derivative does not exist. Okay? Okay. This quiz, we can make it open notes. You can talk to your neighbor. It's short, so you're going to take it and you'll instantly get the feedback to see how you did. Okay. The only thing I ask is if you got it wrong, you're going to do it with a pen. Figure out, I'll show you. You'll add it to the quiz where you got it wrong. And most of the mistakes are going to be chain rule mistakes. So you'll have to let's say this is your derivative 3 sine x ln 3, right? Let's say that's your final answer, and my answer has times cosine of x. So on your paper, you would add, in pen in a different color. Oh, this was my error. Okay? Okay, so get in groups of 2. That's recommended but not mandatory. And then I'll pass it out.